Time for the moment of truth. Does this shooting analysis prove my theory about shooting? Hey everyone, welcome back to part 2 of episode 1 of The Breakdown. If you're just joining us, pause this video right now and go back and watch part 1 first. I promise it'll be worth it. Otherwise, this video might not make as much sense. Okay, so this video is going to be talking about the results of my college lacrosse shooting study. Specifically, where on the goal are the best and worst places to shoot. I showed you the shooting charts in the first video. I compiled all those data points into one Excel spreadsheet and then did some analysis to rank each shot location based on 4 different factors. Those factors are goal percentage, turnover percentage, goalie contact percentage, and goal to turnover ratio. Goal percentage is how often a ball shot on frame goes in. Remember, our definition of on frame is anything horizontally between the 6-foot pipes and extending up into eternity like the NFL field goal posts. So a high goal percentage is good. Turnover percentage is simply how many of the shots, again, on frame, resulted in a turnover. So high turnover percentage is bad. The reason I believe using on-frame shots is the best way to look at the data is because every shot has the same opportunity for the horizontal miss, but the vertical miss is different. So if you're wondering why I wouldn't filter out also vertical misses, it's because that's a huge advantage that shooting low has that shooting high doesn't have. So it's the most fair to all shot locations to include all on-frame shots, including the vertical misses. Also, we're trying to figure out from the college lacrosse data where the best and worst places on the goal to score are. When you include shots outside the frame, you're basically just adding a lot of missed data that cancels each other out and makes the numbers look closer than they actually are. By using only the on-frame data, it really gives us the meat about which locations give you the best and worst opportunities to score, because those are the shots that the goalie actually has to be interacting with. But don't worry, I've actually crunched the numbers for both on-frame shots as well as all shots, and I'll include that at the end so you can see. Moving on, goalie contact percentage is how often a goalie makes contact with a shot. So a save rebound, goal save, all those would factor into this calculation. So high goalie contact is bad, but it's not the worst metric to be high in because a lot of these goalie contact shots can still go in. I think we can all agree we'd rather shoot to locations on the goal that the goalie doesn't have as good of a chance of saving, and so high goalie contact kind of tells us that he's close to saving the ball. Think about it, the whole point of a goalie is to do whatever they can to block your shots, and so high goalie contact would indicate that in those locations they're a little bit closer to saving the ball than they are not. Goals to turnover ratio is an average of how many goals will be scored at a particular location before a turnover occurs. So a high goal to turnover ratio is good. Once I had these 4 numbers calculated for each shot location, I did some basic statistics to rank the shot locations from worst to best. Drum roll please. Number 6, the worst spot to shoot. Stick side, hip. I'm not gonna lie, this one surprised me. Before this project, there was no doubt in my mind that stick side high was going to be the worst place to shoot. But I was proven wrong. It's a very close second worst place to shoot. After watching all these shots though, it makes sense because at the stick side hip location, there's a maximum amount of stick and body surface area to block a shot. In most goalie stances, I've noticed that the stick sits right in between the stick side hip and stick side high location, making stick side hip the easiest and fastest location for a goalie to get the head of their stick to. The turnover percentage and goalie contact percentage at this location were both over 50%, meaning that you're almost volunteering the ball to the goalie whenever you shoot stick side hip. The goal to turnover ratio says it all. A .75 goal to turnover ratio is dismal. My recommendation, avoid at all costs. Number 5, stick side high. Where are all my stick side high fanboys at? I know there are a ton of stick side high stands out there because even though it was the second worst place to shoot, it was the number 1 most popular place for college lacrosse players to shoot. Whenever I talk about this location, I feel like the dude's sitting in public with the prove me wrong sign. Shooting stick side high is never a good idea, prove me wrong. But I just fundamentally don't understand how someone's brain can tell them that shooting stick side high is a good idea. I believe that a majority of young lacrosse players shoot to the high part of the net because they simply think it looks cooler to score top cheddar than low cheese. And I was the same way when I was younger, don't get me wrong, but you have to grow out of that. Does a bar down shot look cool? I mean, yeah, absolutely, but does repeatedly shooting stick side high and hurting your team look cool? Huge no. But I don't hurt my team if I score. That's true, but if you would just be honest with yourself for 2 seconds, you'd understand that you're actually turning the ball over more often than you're scoring. To me, a well-placed, low-risk shot that scores is much better looking than a high, risky, stick-side high bar down goal. Because the first usually means that the team is all bought into the same game plan, And the second, a rogue stick side high shot, comes across as very selfish. I know this might come across as a strong opinion, but the numbers as well as the eye test fully support what I'm saying. So now that I've thoroughly ripped stick side high apart, let's talk about when shooting stick side high is a good idea. Although I still rarely prefer it, there are some instances when you're on the doorstep that shooting stick side high is an option. I won't say a great option because the numbers are still bad, but sometimes it might be the only option. For example, if a goalie has been cheating low or flopping low on inside shots, or defenders are on top of you and preventing you from shooting to the off-stick side, it can sometimes be your only option to hit the goalie with a quick hezzy or a fake and then quickly bury where his stick was, stick side high. But outside the doorstep, I would never recommend shooting stick side high. The goal percentage is the worst of all locations. It has almost half the chance of scoring as a shot placed off stick low. The turnover percentage isn't quite as bad as off stick hip, but it still shows that over a third of the shots resulted in a turnover. Lastly, the goal to turnover ratio is less than 1, which means that your shot will be a turnover more times than it's a goal. That's not good. My recommendation, never shoot stick side high except last resort on the crease. Number 4, off stick hip. Off-stick hip rounds out the bottom half of our bad shooting locations. I thought this location had potential to be better, but the numbers just didn't show it. I think what makes this shot more difficult than the other off-stick shots is that there's not as much lateral room for error as an off-stick high or off-stick low shot. It's similar to the stick side hip in the sense that there's a lot of goalie surface area that they're moving to that part of the net when they're going for a save. There's swiping motion that they do when they save at this location, so first you've got their elbow, then their butt end, and then their hand that swing into their area, followed by their body that they're moving over, and eventually the other hand and the head of their stick. It's still a tough save, but the upside for the goalie is that they're able to get a strong and quick lateral push off the ground in order to get to this location. Off-stick hip had an over 50% goal success rate when shooting from the crease, so shooting from this location inside is a pretty good idea. Outside shots though, that shooting percentage drops quickly. So I would try to shoot through the other off-stick locations before this, but if you're needing to mix up your shot location during a game, this is an okay spot to do that. My recommendation, this is a good inside shot and an okay shot to mix in from range. Number 3, stick side low. This is the second best goal percentage of all shots taken, but also the second worst in goalie contact. This isn't necessarily a bad thing, as I said before, because although the goalie contact is high, the turnover percentage and goal to turnover ratio isn't as bad as other locations. This means that although the goalie is still getting a piece of the shot, it's either still going in or creating a rebound that's more favorable to the offense than rebounds from the hip level shot locations. Overall, the goal percentage of 44% is still better than the college lacrosse average of 42%, and the goal to turnover ratio of 1.08 means that your shot will result in a goal more often than a turnover. To me, this makes stick side low an effective shot to mix in order to keep the goalie from cheating to the off-stick side. My recommendation, this is a good spot to mix in. And number 2, the second best place to shoot on the goal, off-stick high. Off-stick high is the second best place that you can shoot on the goal, and if you really can't fight the itch to go bar down ski, then make sure you do it to the off-stick side of the goal. The goal percentage, 35%, isn't as good as the other locations because this shot can still result in a missed high, but the benefit is that the turnover percentage and goalie contact percentage are the lowest of all shots. This means that even though you don't go bar down ski, at least you aren't turning the ball over. This ends up resulting in a great goal to turnover ratio of 1.68 goals per turnover, making this a very good shot to mix in during a game. It works especially well on goalies that like to cheat low when a shooter drops the head of their stick. I think about Virginia goalie Alex Rode, who has a lower stance and is very good at saving the ball low. I'm a strong believer that you should have the intention of scoring on almost every shot you take, but I understand that there is a time and place for possession shots or shots that get you out of a bad situation, like a quick slide or someone handcuffing you on a bad feed inside, and this is a great location for shots like that. Overall, this is a great location for both inside and outside shots. My recommendation, great spot to shoot, off stick high. And the number 1 best place to shoot, surprise, surprise, off stick low. I'm personally married to the game of off stick low, and I'm not ashamed to say that. I know it's not the flashiest place to score goals, but if you want to be an effective shooter that helps your team win, I can promise you this has got to be your go-to spot. The numbers couldn't back this up better. Obviously, this is nothing revolutionary, as we're all taught that from a young age, off stick low is the best place to shoot. But as I mentioned earlier, I've seen an increasing trend of lacrosse players opting to shoot for worse locations instead. You can give me all the excuses in the world. The goalies already know that we want to shoot there. Their leg is already close to that spot. They flop low. The numbers don't back up those excuses, and the eye test doesn't either. The data and the eye test tell me that the players are voluntarily not shooting off stick low when they should be, period. Don't get me wrong, when I was young, I thought it was cool to shoot high as well. But what really got me on board of the off stick low train was watching Stephen Keogh during his time at Syracuse. Stephen Keogh is a 3-time NLL champion, NCAA champion, and the list goes on. He's one of the best goal scorers in lacrosse, and I've noticed that he would always shoot the ball far side low or off stick low. Always. To me, he embodies such an unselfish role player that all players should aspire to be like. I think the easiest and most obvious ways for a player to do this is to become a disciplined shooter. When you shoot off stick low, you're helping your team immensely. The goal percentage is number one. 60% is a crazy high shooting percentage. Like I said before, the college lacrosse average to all locations is 42%. The turnover percentage and goal percentage is basically the best of all shots as well. And the goal to turnover ratio speaks for itself. 2.8 goals per turnover. Almost twice as good as the off-stick high and almost 3 times better than any other shot. This goes back to my theory about shooting low and all the reasons behind it. When you shoot low on frame, you're forcing the goalie to make a save. And then he's got to fight gravity and mobility and all the other factors that we talked about before in order to make that save. It also means that you have a ton of forgiveness in your shot placement, because if you miss low, it turns into a bounce shot and the goalie still has to make that save. You don't have the same forgiveness when you shoot and miss high. When you shoot high, say you miss between, a couple inches or even up to a foot, you're giving the opportunity for the goalie to make a save without the risk of getting scored on. This leads to the off-stick low shot being by far the best spot to shoot in lacrosse. This should be your go-to spot, and there's no conversation otherwise. If I were a young lacrosse player, I would practice shooting off-stick low until my muscle memory made this my default spot to shoot. Inside, outside, in a jam, hands-free, this needs to be your go-to location. My recommendation? This is the number one spot to shoot, and it's not even close. Well, there you have it. I think all the data pretty clearly proves my theory for shooting. But if you think your coaches, me, all the college lacrosse data is wrong, let me know in the comments below where the actual best place to shoot is. Please, I want to hear you guys' explanations for stick side high. I told you I'd share with you both on-frame statistics as well as all shots in college lacrosse. So here's the summary for the on-frame shot statistics. Next is the summary that includes every shot from every game, not just the shots that were on frame. The numbers changed in the sense that all the percentages dropped a little bit lower because there was more misses, but overall the best and worst locations to shoot didn't change. Thank you for taking the time to watch episode 1 of The Breakdown. I hope it was informative and will help you become a better lacrosse player. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments below. I'd like to answer anything I can about my process or more things about shooting. Like I said, this is a topic I'm very passionate about, and so I want to help you in any way I can. Also, please subscribe to the Sidewalls Lacrosse YouTube channel. It helps me out a ton, and it'll also make sure you don't miss any future episodes of Breakdown. I'll see you guys soon. Peace.